The world is coming to an end. Everything is over. Trump just dropped his tariff plan. And let me tell you something, the markets are on absolute fire. It's pandemonium out there. People are running in the streets screaming, like villages are on fire. Okay, not really. I'm exaggerating. All right. Has it been a rough week in the stock market? Yeah. Is there a whole bunch of red? Oh, yeah. You better believe it. But I was talking to a client of mine just recently, and he just lost $1 million in one of his accounts. And he had some great perspective that I really wanted to share with you. One of the things, he's a little bit older than and wiser than I am when it comes to these things. And he said, Stephen, he's like, yeah, it doesn't feel good on days like this or weeks like this when, I'm seeing the value of my portfolio, fall apart. And he said, but this isn't even the worst day of this decade. There's been worse days, that have happened. And, he starts pointing out different examples in weeks where things had tanked just as bad. And he's like, you know what I did? I was patient. I waited it out. And then this third thing is the reason that I really wanted to kind of lock in on, because I think this is such an important thing for us to realize, whether you are an entrepreneur, an executive, a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter what your role in life is. This third piece of advice that he gave me was just, it was a chef's kiss. It was perfect. He said, I've had my time. I've looked at the news. I've had a little bit of a freak out. And now I'm focusing back in on the things I can control. That's it. I'm not in the president's cabinet. I am not handling economic policy or foreign affairs. And as hard as it is to look, and it doesn't matter if you voted for Trump, if you didn't vote for him, or whatever the case is, nobody likes looking at their portfolio and seeing, oh wow, it's not worth as much as it used to be. That's hard-earned money that I had in there. So I totally get that. I'm not trying to dismiss these feelings and say you shouldn't care. Okay, obviously you're going to care. All right. So please hear that. I'm not trying to say like, hey, just be irrelevant or totally, just treat it as something like it's irrelevant. It's out of sight, out of mind. No, you're going to feel this. Okay. We are going through, for better or for worse. We don't know how it's going to play out. Okay. President got voted in. He has a plan. He's doing his best to execute on it. We should all be hoping it works as Americans, right? Whether you voted for him or not, like we don't want things to be bad. It doesn't matter who gets into office. I'm always cheering for them once they are in office to do a good job. So for me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, this doesn't feel good. I hope this works out in the long haul. Okay. But the long haul is the long haul. It's the future. And I don't have any control over that. And on top of that, I'm not even promised the future. I'm not promised tomorrow. We had a friend die very young at the age of 36 just recently, very unexpectedly. It's been incredibly sad, but just unfortunately, like it is at all funerals, when you're there, you're going, man, time is short. I don't know when it's going to be my turn, when the Grim Reaper is going to come calling, when I'm going to go up and see my creator. Like, I don't know when that's going to happen. Okay. But what I do know is I have this thing called the present, and the present is a present, right? So I'm going to focus on the things that I can control right now. Somebody once said that anxiety is bred by focusing too much on the future or too much on the past. And I think that's beautiful, because when you are in times like this, when we are focused on things that are chaotic, when the markets, the world is falling apart, all these things are happening, it can be so easy to look at the past and start freaking out and going, oh man, if only I would have, if I would have sold my stocks like a month ago, oh, I want to be in this position. Or, oh man, if I would have seen this coming, maybe that, or you're looking into the future and you're going, oh, if only, I would have done this thing different, then maybe, 30, 60 days from now, a year, 10 years from now, my life would be different. It doesn't actually serve much of a purpose to go through all of that. Okay. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to predict the future for our lives. And I'm not saying that we can't learn from the past. Absolutely. But when it comes down to where the majority of our attention, where the majority of our energy, where the majority of our time needs to be focused, it needs to be on right now. and it needs to be on the right now, on the things we can control. I think that's the thing that we get confused sometimes is it's like, okay, I got to focus on the present. I got to focus on right now. But we forget the parts to where it's like, that's 1A and then 1B. Yeah, you focus on what you can do right now, but what you can control too. So when you put those things together, it actually alleviates a lot of tension. It alleviates a lot of the anxiety because we as humans like control. For better or for worse, when we feel like we're in control, there is a certain level of peace that comes with that, even when things are absolutely crazy. So that's something that I think is really important for us. And I know for me right now to be able to focus on. Yeah, I've got a lot of money that's in the red. Okay. But I just try to turn my attention after, an hour or two of being distracted and seeing what it was because it is relevant. It's relevant to my life. This isn't like some random political thing. You hear me talk about it at all. Politics is one of the worst distractions, ever created by humans. They really don't do a lot for us, but it is just the nature of who we are. But the more that you can not focus on them, the better off your life is going to be. Okay. But there are going to be things like this that do have a direct correlation to the quality of your life. So we do have to pay attention to that. But again, after about an hour, I got an understanding of what the policies look like. I saw that China was going to raise its rates. I saw that I think it was Argentina came and said, hey, let's talk, let's negotiate. Okay, I saw that. Now what? Do I keep doom scrolling on my phone and do I keep absorbing all of the positive takes or the negative takes or just the wild takes, and just listen to more and more of the outrage media, coming in. It's like, is that really healthy? Is that really what's going to move me to what's important to my life? Let me go back and look. What do I have for my objectives? My objectives are my 3-year goals. This is what we do at Life Builder, my company, and my mastermind. We focus on our 3-year goals. And the thing is, you only get 3. Okay? You can have almost anything you want, but you can't have everything you want. So you pick 3 things that are 3 years out and you start working towards those. Well, I have a monthly cash flow goal that I'm trying to get my family to. And I've got about 3 years to do this because we just made these goals at the beginning of the year. So I've got a monthly cash flow goal that I'm trying to focus on. Does looking at tariff policy and all these other things really help with that? Well, no, not really. I mean, it impacts my net worth, but it doesn't actually impact my cash flow. So, yeah. Okay, moving on to the next objective. Let's see if this aligns with that. What's my next objective? My next objective is to make sure, I'm calling it my 1-1-2 vacation strategy. So basically what that is we want to do, me and my wife, Lindsay, want to do one big family vacation every year. We want to do one big vacation with just me and her together every year. And when I say big vacation, I'm talking something that's like 5+ days. Okay. And then the 2 is we want to have 2 personal retreats, 2 personal little vacations. And for that, what we had is something that's like a long weekend, 3 days or something, to where it's just us doing what we want to do. Maybe it's a girl's trip, maybe it's a guy's trip, maybe she's, it's just whatever we want, right? To go do by themselves and everything and enjoy things that we enjoy doing. So that's kind of the strategy. Every year we want to have that 1, 1, and 2. Again, tariffs doesn't really impact that much. Maybe it changes the prices on some of the places I want to go. But again, I'll deal with that when I'm ready to book the trips. Okay. So again, not directly correlated. And then my 3rd goal is I'm actually working on starting a school. This is actually something I'm really excited about. But when my son gets to middle school and then eventually when my daughters catch up to that, I want to, at the middle school level, I have an idea for what education wants to look like. This is a totally different topic, but now you guys know. I am working on building a school, and it's going to be an entrepreneurial school, and there's going to be AI tutors along with the curriculum and the teachers and different things like that. So that's something else that I'm working on. And I've got other stuff. I'm working on starting another business on top of that. That's not even one of the long-term objectives. That's a short-term one that's tied to the first objective. So in none of these things, if I look at it, can I find a direct, absolutely, without a question, correlation between what is happening with the politics of the world and what I am focused on for what I want for my life. So that is what I want to preach to you right now. I want you to ask yourself, number one, what do you want? What do you want? It's a dangerous conversation we need to have with ourselves. A lot of people avoid this question, or they think they have an idea. A lot of times when I'm working with people and, I'm working with these entrepreneurs and, they're focused on making money and all of that. And they're like, I want to build generational wealth. Okay, great. What does that mean? Generational wealth, is that $50 million? Is it $100 million? Is it $1 million? What is that? Okay. We've got to quantify that. We've got to turn it into something that actually has a finish line. So, it's different stuff like that. It's like, focus on what you want. And then the second thing is, why do you want it? So that's the first question. When you're designing the life that you want, you have to answer these three questions. So it's what do you want? And then it's why do you want it? And the why is so important because sometimes that changes the what. I'll give you a perfect example. Somebody was like, hey, we're looking to buy a new house. We want a bigger house. And I was like, okay, but that's the what, why? And they were like, well, I have a father that's aging and we think we want him to, move to the city with us and to be closer and do all that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, that's great. So I said, okay, so your what is actually not to buy a new house. I said, your what is that you want to be able to provide the right amount of care for your father in this city. And then she was like, oh, well, yeah, that's right. And I said, look, buying the house may still be the right way to do it, but there could be other ways to do it. Like maybe you get him a small apartment that's really close by with home care. Or, if you can't find a house in the right area that messes up your school district and blah, blah, blah. It gives us options. It helps us understand the true motivation behind what it is we're trying to accomplish. So we can think about it differently. So that's why the why can change the what sometimes. And then the third thing is how. How are we going to do this? How are we going to get this? And that's what we really got to focus on. Once we know that what and that why, that comes back to this, screw what's going on in the world. Who cares? Okay. Who cares what the price of tea in China is? It's the mainstream media is the enemy here. They are fighting for your attention. Okay. We talk about the your five most precious resources, your teams, time, energy, attention, money, soul. The mainstream media, amongst many other things, are fighting for slivers of that. Why? To get money and power. Okay. So anytime you give away your time, energy, attention, money, and soul, you are giving away money and power, essentially. You're giving away those things. So I just encourage you to really take stock of where you are investing your teams and to make sure that it's in things that are moving the needle forward for you to achieve your long-term goals, your short-term goals, and ultimately build a life that you are really proud of. Okay. So that is my take on the tariffs. Okay. Hey, that might be the title of the episode. My take on the tariffs. Again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know that this is going to work out. I'm not going to tell you that it's not. I'm not going to tell you anything about the tariffs or how to invest or do anything like that. I don't know. That's just what it comes down to. And the reality is nobody knows. Even the people who are in charge making this policy, they don't know if this is going to work because there's too many factors. Okay. They have a plan. They have a strategy. They're going to execute on it. And again, let's all hope that it works out. Okay. There's no reason to hope that it doesn't. Hopefully everybody will end up winning through this. Okay. But we can't control it. Okay. I don't know of anybody listening to this podcast that is in charge of economic policy. If you are, hey, cool. Give me a call. Let me know. But for the most part, that's not my audience. So for the people out there who are running businesses, for the people out there who are taking care of their families, for the people out there who are focused on building a life that excites them every single day, if you can't find a direct correlation to all the geopolitical madness that's going on in the world and what matters most to you, turn the TV off, delete the social media apps for a little while, and dear God, don't look at your portfolio, okay? Just, hold through it, talk to your, financial advisors if you work with some, sure, like that's an element of control. But beyond that, don't do anything panicky. And remember, focus on the things that you can control. We're all going to be okay. I'm pretty confident of that.